Good morning, Algebra 2 Trig Honor students. So this one, it's a day 11 and 12 lesson. So just want to go over the inverses, the way to find out the inverses trig functions with the given ratios. So anytime that you see anything like -1, -1, so the way to read through it, so this one is called the inverse of cosine of -1, okay? And the other one is inverse of tangent of √3/3, inverse of sine of 0. So -1, it's not the exponent, it's called the inverse. So anytime that you're giving out the ratio with the trig function, with the -1, the indicator, so that means you want to find out the measure of the angle. So this time we have to do it without using the calculator. It's all about the unit circle that you recognize. So on the unit circle, we do know that at -1, for the x value, so that would be considered at this position here. So at that position, it's either 180 degree or it's pi. So for this one, it's 180 degree or pi radian. And now, what about inverse of tangent of √3/3? Now, the things that this one, you can always unrationalize it. Once you unrationalize it, that means I divide it by √3, top and the bottom. And then you'll get 1/√3. So that means this one is written as inverse of tangent of 1/√3. So for the ratios, so tangent on the unit circle is being positive, so that means it's either in quadrant 1 or quadrant 3. So 1/√3, so that means opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Because negative over negative is going to be positive again. So for this angle here, so obviously that's what? 30 degree. Okay? So 30 degree. In quadrant 3, this angle would be considered 180 plus 30. Then that would be considered 210 degree. Convert them to radians. So we do have pi over 6. And then this one here, 210, convert that to radian. Multiply by pi over 180. Divided by 3, so 7 pi over 6. Just the multiple. Radian. And then inverse of sine of 0. So this one again, so for the y value 0, so it's either right on top here or down the bottom of the unit circle. Again, sine, it's just the sine of that angle is always the value for y. Okay? This one's supposed to be, excuse me, that's the wrong position. This one's supposed to be 0, 1. This one's 0, -1. For y equals 0, then that'd be over here. Either 180 degree or 0 degree. Or we can say that is what? Go around the unit circle, so then that'd be 360. The y value. So 0 radian, pi, and 2 pi radian. Now let's look at that one of the special case. So the special case that's showing no solution. So like number 6, inverse of cosine of 2. Well, this one you can state that as 2/1. But according to the analysis, so this one, in other words, saying that cosine of theta equals 2/1. So that means the adjacent is longer than the hypotenuse, and there's no way this one can be true. So that means this one, showing that adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent would never be, cannot be longer than the hypotenuse. Okay, so I should put in, cannot be greater than the hypotenuse. So therefore, this one, there's no solution. So what about inverse of sine of -√2/2? So -√2/2, again, unrationalize it, divided by √2 top and the bottom. So we do have inverse of sine of -1/√2. So that means this one for sine, going back to the quadrant, all students take calculus. So for sine is being negative, so it's either in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. So adjacent, well, it's opposite over hypotenuse. So -1 root 2. Negative 1 root 2. So the reference angle, this one would be considered 30 degree. So going around to quadrant 3, so 30 plus 180. So then that would be considered 210. So for this one, so it's 210 degree. In quadrant 4, so 360 minus 30. Then that would be 330. So this one is considered, well, convert that to radian. 210 multiplied by pi over 180. Again, the one that we did it already, which is what, 7 pi over 6. And then the other one here, then that'll be 11 pi over 6. 330 times pi over 180. Divided by 3, top and the bottom. Alright. And now use a calculator to evaluate the expression in both radian and degree. So inverse of tangent of negative 1.7. So let's put it into the calculator. So inverse, tangent of negative 1.7. Well, this one it shows arctangent, which is the same as inverse of tangent. In terms of degree, so that would be negative 59.53. So round it up, so negative 60 degree. Well, the reason why it's negative, because that is going to quadrant 4. So negative 60 degrees. In both radians and degree. So in radian, then that'd be negative pi over 3. Right. And then the rest of this, just typing that to the calculator and find out the ratios. So inverse of sine. So inverse of sine of 0.85. Inverse of sine of 0.85. It's about 58.2, so round it up, 58 degree. And then convert that to radian, multiply by pi over 180. And divided by 2 top and the bottom, so 29, so this one is 90. So it's 29 pi over 90 radian. And then the rest of this, you want to do the same thing. So the one that I would like to talk about next, then that'll be solving the basic trigonometric equation. So like this one right here, so sine of theta is negative 0.71, but we need to find out that angle, it's in quadrant in between 270 and 360. So in between 270 and 360, so that means it's right in quadrant 4. Okay, so let's take that inverse of sine of negative 0.71. So that equals theta. And then do that on the calculator. So find out what that is in terms of degree. Because the boundary, it's also given that as degree. So inverse of sine of negative 0.71. So inverse of sine of negative 0.71. So this one is showing that's negative 45. It's about negative 45 degree. This one is only showing the reference angle. If you take the absolute value, that shows the reference angle, which is this one right here. Again, this one is the approximation. I should use the approximation symbol. So theta prime, it's about 45 degrees. So since we do know that it's allocated in quadrant 4, so theta would be 360 minus 45 degree. Then that would be 315 degrees. Again, it's about. So make sure that whatever the angle we find out, it fits into that quadrant with the boundary. So the one that we found in the calculator, that's just the reference angle. It's a negative, it's the opposite of the reference angle. Okay, so now let's do another one, 16. So cosine of theta is negative 0.22. So that means, in other words, inverse of cosine of negative 0.22. So let's find out what that is on the calculator. So this one might be showing that it's a reference angle, the opposite of the reference angle. So inverse of cosine of negative 0.22. So inverse of cosine of negative 0.22. So that's it's about 103 degrees. So this one actually gives you the exact measure of the angle. So imagine that it's negative ratio, so that means it's in quadrant 2 for cosine. Well, it is. It's in between 180 and 270. Well, the thing is that it's 103. This one is actually more than it's greater than any angle in quadrant 2. It's in quadrant 3. So the one that we found, 103, so this one is just like an alternate solution. So we need to find the reference angle here. So the reference angle will give you 180 minus 103. So then that'll be 77 degrees. So in quadrant 3, so then this one would be 180 plus 77. Then that'll be 257 degrees. Okay, so 257 degrees. And the next one, find the measure of angle theta. So this one is showing that it's opposite hypotenuse. So we're using the function of sine of theta. So it's 9 over 17. So we take the inverse of 9 over 17 on the calculator. And this one here is showing that it's adjacent and then opposite. So that means this one we're using tangent. Tangent of theta, then that'll be 11 over 8. And then we take the inverse of tangent. So basically just do that on the calculator and find out exactly what those angles are. Okay, so that's it. So this one is the lesson for day 11 and 12. So the next video, I'll put the one for day 13. Okay, so thank you for watching it. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. You guys do like the video. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.